Hi, kidney warriors and friends. It's been just over a week since I've had my fistula surgery, and unfortunately, it's not good news. Welcome to Diary of a Kidney Warrior. Follow my journey with chronic kidney disease, sharing faith, knowledge, hope, and love. So it's been just over a week since I had my fistula surgery, and unfortunately, it's not good news. Going back to the Thursday of my operation, whilst I was still in the operating room, the nurse asked me if I could feel a vibration coming from the fistula, and I couldn't feel anything. I said no. And she said to me that because it's my first fistula, it may take a few hours for it to work. I didn't feel anything while I was in the recovery room, and I didn't feel anything when I left the hospital. I wasn't asked any more about that before I left the hospital, so I didn't think any more of it. The next day at dialysis, I wasn't, I talked about having the operation, but it wasn't checked there. And another patient had asked me whether I'd felt a vibration, and the answer to that was still no. Over the course of the weekend, I became concerned. I consulted a health professional friend of mine, and they said, when the nurse listens through the stethoscope, that's when you'll know better what's going on. Try not to worry. And so on Monday, I asked the nurse to check the fistula. She couldn't feel anything. She put the stethoscope on it, couldn't feel anything. So she called a senior nurse, and um, she couldn't hear anything. So they contacted the vascular team, and they, when they came back with the response to the email that they sent, they moved my follow-up appointment to a few weeks away, and then um, I was really angry, to be honest, with the whole thing, because as everyone knows, I've said so many times, I never wanted to have a fistula. And one of the reasons why I didn't want to have a fistula was because I could go through all of this and it doesn't even work. And I was now presented with that reality. Um, so I asked whether a member of the vascular team could phone me. That didn't happen. And so the next day I contacted the hospital and spoke with one of the vascular nurses, and they she was saying, we've brought your appointment forward. And I said, yeah, but that's not until another couple of weeks away. um in the meantime, we don't know what's going on in there, if there's a blood clot or anything like that. And she said, well, if there's a blood clot, there's nothing we can do about it. So you can imagine how I felt about that statement. Um, because for me, blood clots, for in all intents and purposes, are never a good thing, and usually associated. I'm not saying always. I'm not a medical um, professional, but usually when you hear blood clot, you hear lots of problems. So this really concerned me, and throughout my health journey, especially my kidney warrior journey, I have had to be very assertive, and challenge and ask questions. And I make no apology for this, because being this way has literally saved my life in my health journey. And that's not an exaggeration, that's literal. So I was saying to her, it's all well and good, the doctors throughout this time saying to me about needing to have a fistula every time they see me. Oh, you need to have a fistula, it's the best option. And then when things go wrong, you don't hear anything. Like, I requested a call back, no one called me back. I don't hear anything. How do I know what's going on with it? It needs to be checked. So she asked me, when would I want to be seen? And I said, as soon as possible. Is it possible to check it today? So she agreed for me to come in and for her to scan the fistula. So I went along to the hospital. She scanned the fistula, and she could, in fact, see there was a blood clot and she said that there is movement there, but she doesn't know whether that's a branch that's formed or whether it's able to move past that blockage. And so you can imagine I was fuming. Like, I was really, really fuming. And to go through all of this and still be going through it for nothing really, 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 really upset me. But she said that if I do the exercises, that there's a possibility that that might help, but there's nothing they can actually do about the blood clot at this stage, because if they were to try to, it could cause, uh, the fact that they've connected an artery and a vein, it could affect that connection, so they wouldn't touch it at this stage anyway. Um, but yeah, it really, really, really was upsetting to be, and is upsetting to be in this position. So she looked at the fistula and she said, "Oh, it looks really red. There could be an infection there." And then said that she's going to check about putting me on antibiotics. So the point is, um, oh, and just an update on that, they took a swab at dialysis and it confirmed that there was an infection. So my thing was, if I hadn't have advocated for myself and been assertive in that way and gone to the hospital for that scan and had the fistula examined by the vascular nurse, would the infection have been picked up? Because the reality was it wasn't picked up by the dialysis nurses. So again, being in the position of having to advocate for myself in that way just shows me, and as I said to them, it's not just about me, it's about other patients. When things go wrong, why there isn't that follow-up? One of the things that the nurse said to me was, well, at least you gave it a go. Now, I very, very, very much challenged that way of thinking, because for me, and I said to her, giving it a go is in relation to maybe a new medication or an injection, not having your flesh cut into, not when it comes to surgery. And to add on to that, for me, giving it a go is like trying a new flavor of ice cream or maybe a new lipstick or lip balm, not having an operation that has all these risks and side effects and all the different things. That's not something you give a go. So for me, I don't even know what to say at this point other than a hope. I mean, my number one hope obviously is for a kidney, or if that hasn't doesn't happen before then, for the exercises to free up or do something. So this is the position that I'm in now, and sometimes I do wonder whether, you know, I've never, ever, ever wanted to have a fistula, and maybe sometimes that gut feeling that I should have stuck with that. But then it goes back to the fact that I did have sepsis, and that was the reason why I ended up having the surgery. So yeah. So at this point, it's not looking good, but I am hoping and praying for a miracle. And yeah, so I just wanted to quickly update you. I'm still choosing to live, but this definitely has been a major setback of blow and disappointment for me. But yeah, I'm going to keep going. I'll keep you updated. So until next time, take care and choose to live.